This is Johnny with Tiger Bomb MMA, and today I'm going to go over UFC Vegas 104 Vettori versus Dolidze 2, give you my thoughts, predictions on the entire 13-bout card as of now, given the fact that the previous card, the UFC 313, had a ton of unfortunate, last-minute cancellations. I'm hoping this doesn't happen here. It's a card filled with people you may not know, but I think even from the start of the card, it's got some fun fights that hopefully live up to the potential I'm expecting from them. But yeah, we got a rematch between Vettori and Dolidze. Dolidze, he's been on a bit of a run. He's on a 2-fight run. Vettori, he's not doing so hot. He hasn't been fighting for about 2 years, roughly. His last fight was against Cannonier, where, Cannonier, it's not a bad loss. Let's just say at middleweight, he's still doing his thing. But before I break down this card, I wanted to give you my very brief thoughts on the previous card, which was, again, UFC 313, and just kind of breaking down what I thought were the biggest winners and losers. One of the biggest winners was Ozzy Diaz. He actually won a UFC fight, so congratulations to him. I actually put a little bit of money on him, and I felt as if that he was announced the winner. Biggest loser of the card, at least in the prelims, Francis Marshall. It's destiny that he cannot get past that hump. He goes over to ATT, and man, also very interesting for that scorecard. I know a lot of people are upset about that scorecard. It was 30-27 Marshall, and then 229-28 for Santos. And I'll just say this. It's 29-28 Santos, to me, was a little bit more realistic than a 30-27 Francis Marshall. I'll say that. It was very close. To me, it just determines on how you score round number 3. And to say that it was 30-27 Marshall, at very least, Santos won round number 2. I don't think it was a robbery. I think it was definitely very close, and I think there was a lot of bias from the announcing team, specifically DC. He's like, I think he won, Joe. I'm like, oh shit, okay. Biggest loser of the Ray Tsuruya, another big loser. That was a bad look for him. And granted, given to him, he still tried. He still went for those takedowns. But I'll tell you, when I saw Joshua Van, I was not yet sold. I like to wait for Joshua Van to potentially start slow and then to max bet him afterwards, but he was stuffing takedowns beautifully. This kid is looking like an absolute beast. Even at 23 years old, he is incredibly complete, and I live bet the shit out of him. -200, -400, all the way up to -1,000. I'm like, fuck it, whatever. Give me those extra $4. I'm never going to be able to, live down if I lose. But no, he was 30-27 across the boards. Looked fantastic. Big winner of the card. I got to say, Justin Gaethje, he fought well. He fought very well. And it's interesting that even Fiziev, he also fought very well. I don't want to necessarily take anything away from him. He mixed things up properly. He actually showed a new staple to his game. And it was a very close fight. Again, 1-1 going into the third. And similar to what happened in the first fight, Fiziev starts off pretty hot, looking good. But ultimately what ends up winning just in the fight were the optics and the pressure he was putting on him. It's not like he didn't win the fight. It's just so he won the later part of the round, which just significantly improves, his chances of winning with the judges. And of course, Hoofy doing Hoofy things, incredible. It was so nice to see him getting that ridiculous knockout. I hate seeing Bobby Green get knocked out like that because, I've cashed on him many times in the past. But damn, Hoofy at this very moment, the fact that people were not sold on him, I was very close to not even exaggerating, but taking out all of my savings and putting it on Hoofy. But I was like, nah, let's just wait and see what happens. And then, of course, the main event with Alex and Magomed. Now, me being a huge, I guess what you would call a poetard, I can say that he lost that fight. He didn't look very characteristic, but ultimately it was not a good look for either man. The reason I picked Alex is specifically for what happened. He was kicking the leg early. He won the first round, and Magomed he fought well enough to win, but nothing spectacular. He went 0 for 12 on takedowns, and normally, if Alex were to say land a few more shots, he didn't land many headshots, which was weird. And I'm hearing a rumor that his hand was broken and he had a plethora of injuries. Neither here nor there. But the reason I predicted Alex is that I knew he would have better takedown defense. I thought he would actually even go for his own takedown, which I luckily didn't take that prop. I thought it was going to be a lot larger, like plus 1,000. It was like maybe plus 450. And I thought he actually got that takedown. Out of the two, he's still 100% takedown accuracy. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Ankalaev, he did win that fight. It was given to him round number 2, 3, and 4. I would have given round number 5 to Alex because he did more damage. But it's just nuts that, he's acting like he's God's gift to fighting after barely beating Alex and looking bad in the wrestling, although he did look good in the striking, primarily because of the threat of the takedown. So interesting to see if they do give him the rematch for Alex. I think Alex at this point, his hesitancy was not a good look, and I would prefer him to go up to heavyweight. He's up there in age as well, and we'll see what he can do up there, but it'd be an interesting rematch to say. So yeah, let's move on back to the main card at hand, the Vettori versus Dolidze fight card. First fight of the night, we've got Judice Duben versus Carly Judice at flyweight, minus 500 for minus 500 for a 3-2 fighter. In Carly Judice come back on 6-0. Judice Duben is plus 380. My philosophy always is, if it is a very wide line, you go with the girl, with the underdog. Not because she's undefeated, not because I think she's all spectacular. It's just shit happens in women's MMA. Not to take anything away from Judice, I actually am a fan of this girl. I like her striking. She's training out of Aaron Phillips's Head Kicks MMA camp. And this girl, for a girl who's 3-2, and on top of that, has a very short time doing MMA in general and training, looks incredible on the feet. They call her crispy for a reason. She's very crisp on the feet. Again, for a girl who has, like, in comparison to Duben, who actually has a black belt in wushu and a black belt in some other bullshit, she is the more technical striker of the two. And it's nuts to me because, again, still very young, 26 years old, and I like the output. I like the head movement. And I like the ability to actually go all 3 rounds. For Duben, she primarily has been beating bums in her circuit, like just in the regional scene in Venezuela. And despite that, I actually am still looking forward to seeing what she can do. I don't think we've seen that happen quite yet. Like, she's just been running through girls in the Contender Series. She knocks out, Shannon Clark, and she was like a plus 900 underdog. Now, what I find interesting is that she was a plus 900 underdog for a reason. The strength of schedule was garbage, and you can't really judge a girl who hasn't really fought that kind of level of competition, but what you can visually see is her aggression and the willingness to go forward, the willingness to actually take a shot and give a shot much harder. And on top of that, what you can visually see is the titties, the big titty power. You cannot quantify that at certain times. And for me, I like Duben. I'd like to give Duben a Tuben. Very pretty young girl. Ultimately, though, if it does go, say, all 3 rounds, which most of the time they tend to do, Judice has got very good footwork. She can avoid the bull that is Duben. The only issue is with the judging, okay? I always bring this up, especially when the line is this wide. I'm willing to take a shot on Duben money-wise, monetarily, at those odds, plus 380. I've seen her up to like maybe plus 400, while I think my local casino is going to have her like much worse, like maybe minus or plus 260 or something is what I saw. I'll still take a shot on that. The power will probably translate in the eyes of the judges, so I'm guessing that's what could happen. But ultimately, the volume of Judice, she outlands her by a significant amount. But again, you can't really judge those numbers, like the stats, because we haven't seen Duben fight anyone very good. So it's really hard to gauge this girl. So I'm willing to take a shot on her just based off of the pure raw power, the willingness to go and engage. So with her type of mentality, if you can just kind of bum rush Judice, even try to go for a takedown, try to mix things up well, it could be interesting. But Judice, much smoother on the feet, and I like her to win this one by a decision. I think the line is ridiculous. And it's crazy that I'm talking this much about a women's MMA bout, but for it to be opening the card, I would have expected it to be a lot higher. Given the possibility for the star power of Duben, I'm very much intrigued for this fight. I'm looking forward to it a lot, but give me Judice. Logically, I think she's going to be the winner here. I think she's going to be able to avoid, again, it's going to be a bull and matador type of situation. Judice does have that kind of footwork. I'm not a big fan of the line, and I'm not necessarily a big fan of taking her in predicting she's going to win. I like dog or pass in this situation, but yeah, give me Judice to win this one, but I would not mind taking a shot on a possibility that Duben wins this one, not by knockout, but visually landing, quote unquote, the harder shot. Sometimes that's enough for the judges. But yeah, give me Judice decision. Next bout, we've got Josiane Nunes versus Priscilla Cachoeira. And very simply put, this is going to be a slobber knocker type of fight. These two girls like to bang. I guess, I don't. Josiane Nunes does have a nice fade, so I don't know what would happen in that cage, but I know Cachoeira likes to bang. But yeah, plus 170 for Priscilla Zombie Girl, and come back on Josiane Nunes as minus 205. And this is at bantamweight. Nunes has fought at featherweight, and she's knocked out girls at featherweight, or at a certain point, even hurt girls. Cachoeira, number one, Cachoeira is just not a visually pleasing striker. You know, if I was her coach, I'd be like, don't load up so much. Like, it's very obvious what you're trying to throw. She's very predictable, but damn when she lands, and she just lets it go. And I do like her ability to actually land uppercuts in this situation, because Nunes, being the shorter girl by, 5 inches? Surprisingly, she's got those long monkey arms. She's got a 2-inch reach advantage over Cachoeira. She is the much more technical striker. She has decent movement. And she just recently got her blue belt in jiu-jitsu, which to me signifies this bitch is going to try to get takedowns on Cachoeira, because Cachoeira has some of the worst takedown defense in the UFC. Although it has gotten better, I think in this case it's going to catch her by surprise. And she did just take an ass whooping from Jazz Divisius on the ground. I'm expecting Nunes to try to get back on track. They both need a win here. But from what I gather, Cachoeira doesn't change her style. She's not going to mix in takedowns. And Josiane Nunes, you know, it's just a tailor-made fight for these two girls to fight the way they typically do, where the one who deviates from that plan is generally the one that's going to win. I think that's going to be Nunes, so I am picking her to win actually by a decision. And I think a lot of people might be looking at this maybe accurately, that they're going to start striking until one falls. I don't think it's that simple. Generally, when I see fighters in a 2-fight losing streak, not considering Cachoeira because she's kind of an imbecile, she's going to come out here and try to land that uppercut, and God willing, I hope she does. But I think that Nunes will get on her bike, and she's going to actually start striking decently, trying to, again, play matador here against Cachoeira, because you can see what she's going to throw a mile away. Her being smaller, I think it's going to be a lot harder for Cachoeira to land, but the head kicks are going to be there. And again, the uppercuts are really, really nice from Cachoeira. But I do expect Nunes, who has fought bigger girls more frequently, to actually, again, go for takedown. So I actually think it's going to be an interesting fight on the feet while it lasts, and then Nunes is going to go for these takedowns. And then God knows what she'll do with that on top. But again, Cachoeira, not the best. She will slow down. I'm just intrigued to see if I'm right or not. But there is, again, dog or pass type of odds here with Cachoeira, because, again, this is a tailor-made fight for her to come out here and just start blasting like that fucking Danny DeVito meme. But yeah, give me Nunes to win by a decision. Again, the more logical path to victory for her is there. But man, if Cachoeira connects, it's going to be fun. Next bout, we've got Andre Lima versus Daniel Barez. And actually, just to get it out of the way, I already bet Lima at, let me see if my odds are better. Yeah, they are better. He is currently minus 310, and I got him at like minus 290 on a parlay. If I'm being honest, I'm not really looking forward to bet this card like legitimately. I'm just going to play a few parlays just to see how much money I can make with a couple bucks, like less than a unit, maybe 2 units at most I'll play. But I do have a parlay going with Andre Lima. Like, I'm a fan of Lima. As I mentioned with like Joshua Van prior, I like to see my young prospects give me a certain look. And with Lima, He's 10-0, and I just have been really enjoying what he presents. Like, he's got nasty kicks, low kicks, good Muay Thai, good Jiu-Jitsu, black belt in Jiu-Jitsu, good takedowns. He fights intelligently. He has very measured pressure. He doesn't do anything too ridiculous. Like, he doesn't go for like spinning back kicks when they're not necessary. And I think his fight IQ is just through the roof. The way he fought Dos Santos in his previous fight is exactly how I predicted him to win. And I do like a fighter that not only can get a finish, but also fights in a way that I can easily say, hey, if he gets in any sort of trouble, I can expect him to, mix things up like this. Same with Barez. I actually really like Barez. The odds on him plus 245. And there's a chance he can come out here and maybe blast Lima. But with Barez, he is, I believe, still a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. And he's fun to watch, okay? He's, to me, the much more fun guy to watch between him and Lima. But I don't see him being a prospect at this weight class at flyweight. The issues with him is, number one, I do feel a bit burned by him because in his last fight against Victor Altamirano, he drops him early. I mean, beautiful, beautiful right hand. Hurts Altamirano, doesn't finish him, and then he seemingly stops throwing. He is getting outpointed. Not to say that he lost the first round, but he's getting outpointed, and he is just, I don't know if it was just the fact that he didn't feel any pressure or any threat from Altamirano. He's not really much of a heavy hitter, that he just said, like, I'll just pressure this cunt and try to, like, take him out. But he wasn't throwing enough. He just was, like, landing one or two hard shots. And to me, it was not looking like it was enough for him to win the fight. And I think it attributes to his UFC debut against, I always have trouble with his name, Rafael Fiallo, where he went balls to the walls, rip into the body. His boxing is disgusting. And not much more to say. I really thought he had it in the bag, and then he gasses himself out. He was the hammer for majority of that fight, and the moment he was the nail, he was the one who crumbled and eventually tapped out. So I think it kind of plays into that. But if these two guys meet and Barez does go all out trying to get that finish and he can't get it against Lima, who in this case, he's not going to be a guy like Altamirano who cannot throw or hurt Barez. I think Lima's going to attack the body. He's going to play it safe. He's going to be smart. That first round might be hectic, but with Barez, man, I like the guy, but at 36 years old at flyweight, and you're having struggles slightly with guys like Carlos Hernandez and Victor Altamirano, and yeah, man, I don't know. I really thought highly of him until, again, the gas issues came about, and not that he gassed in his previous fight, it's just that he managed his cardio so much that he wasn't throwing enough. And I think if you do pressure him and push him, you can probably break him. So, yeah, give me Andre Lima to win this one by a decision. I think, again, he's just super smart. He can find a finish along the way, but I do expect it to go at least over 2.5 rounds. Next bout, we've got at bantamweight, Josias Musasa, the KO Wizard versus Pequeño, which is funny because it means the little one, Carlos Vera. Musasa, I need to actually double check if that's right, because I was told that his money line ballooned all the way up nearly to minus 1,000. I don't believe it. I think that's idiotic. Let's find out. Holy shit, it is minus 900 at Bet Online, minus 900. That's crazy for Musasa. So, the deal. He's a Contender Series guy making his debut. Generally, I do love the Contender Series fade, but when looking at the matchup, had it been Musasa just coming in from the regional straight into the UFC, I would have bet crazy amounts of money on Vera just to survive. Vera, he is a tricky jiu-jitsu boy. I believe black belt or brown belt, one of the two, but his jiu-jitsu solid. I like what he presents. He's never been knocked out. He has a Taekwondo background as well. I really appreciate that he's never been knocked out. I think that's a very good quality, specifically for his age, 37. And you can grind him out, like we saw Rinya Nakamura do so, but he survived well against a very high prospect. Maybe you don't think that still about him, but I do. I think that he fought a tough guy and he didn't know how to handle it. But with Vera, He's going to be too outmatched here. What I saw in the Contender Series bout against what was his name, that Georgian fella, Otari Tanzilov, Tan whatever. I was looking to fade this guy. If you go look at his regionals, he's just knocking dudes out very easily. I believe in one of his matchups, he actually gets hurt, and then he comes back and knocks the dude out. But what I saw in the Contender Series, and this is literally all I could really see, I can't base anything off of his regionals, is he showed athletic ability to get back up, very dynamic hips in like stuffing takedowns, good pressure, surprisingly good boxing, surprisingly good cardio, and him being the bigger guy here, the threat of the power. Man, it's interesting. I'm curious to see if he can knock out Vera. If it does come down to, say, for example, Musasa giving up his back and then him just popping back up, kind of like the idiotic way, not defending and just leaving your back open, can Vera catch him in like a rear naked choke? Perhaps. So there's a slim margin there. But if Musasa doesn't do anything stupid, I think he can win this one easily. I think he can win it by knockout or just primarily the threat of the knockout. What I mean by that is that Vera might get hit and then he'll come in and then Carlos will go for a takedown. It'll get stuffed and then he'll flop to his back. And then it'll just kind of be a rinse and repeat kind of thing where Vera survives based off of him not wanting to get knocked out. It's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm leaning towards that decision. I don't think it's going to be a very clear cut that Musasa comes out here and just knocks him out. Because I'm really looking to see if I can cash in on that over. But yeah, I'm assuming the knockout prop's going to be juiced to the fucking gills. Let me see what the odds are on it if I can find it. So oh man, that's oh no, that's still wrong fight. I saw that the over was like minus 200. So the over 1.5 is minus 160. Fight goes the distance plus 180. Let's see. Vera inside the distance plus 550. Musasa knockout. It's not bad, minus 145. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I'll take on this one. I'm curious to see if I'm right about it, but I'm gonna go with Musasa decision. Mainly, again, I think Carlos, he's got the skills to maybe hang with them for a bit, but that power differential, the athleticism, the threat, the stalking ability of Musasa, it might be too much that it could just lead to that decision. Next bout, oh boy, Diyar Nurgozhay versus Brendan Ribeiro. It's funny that he's nicknamed the Gorilla because his arms are fucking ridiculously long. And I actually think that's a bad thing for him. Just the way he fights, he doesn't necessarily fight intelligently with that reach. But he's plus 220 against the newcomer, another guy, Contender Series, minus 280 for Diyar. And light heavyweight bout. And honestly, I think that Diyar can actually drop down the middleweight. He doesn't seem to have, I don't know, that it factor. I think he can stand to lose a few pounds, go down the middleweight, probably be a little bit more jacked and more comfortable. But I don't think it's going to really change much. I think he will knock out Brendan maybe the second round. I think the first round it's going to be a little slow. He does take his time in Diyar. I went back and watched a couple of his fights just to kind of get an idea. And before I forget, this guy here, a light heavyweight, the Diyar Nurgozhay, he has a common opponent. And let me explain. 6'2" Diyar Nurgozhay fights at light heavyweight, has a common opponent with Mateusz Rebecki, who's like 5 foot, maybe 7, lightweight, and that guy was Magomed Magomedov, which is nuts, considering the fact that Diyar went to a decision with Magomed and Rebecki finished him. So this guy, Magomed, went from lightweight, skipped welterweight and middleweight straight to light heavyweight to fight Diyar. And that's what kind of gave me the impression, like, this guy's not necessarily going to come out here and just start landing big bombs. Brendan's a dangerous guy. What I mentioned about his ability to, like, use his reach, his long-ass arms, he's going to have a significant reach advantage. I'm not worried about it. He tends to get knocked out brutally in the pocket because he doesn't know how to, I guess, use his punches. With his long-ass arms, he likes to land at the end of the punch, usually from a long distance. And inside the pocket, you can really bypass those weapons and just kind of land on them like we saw with the Mountain Tiger in Zhang. And on top of that, I think he has a pretty piss poor chin. I think he has displayed some decent evolution in his game, but ultimately, I just don't think he's UFC caliber. The fact that he went to a split decision with Caio Machado, where I actually thought Machado edged him out near the end. He's getting hurt by this guy. I just was not a fan of that. And I think that the Yar, he's defensively very intelligent. He doesn't force things. He has a very good high left rear kick. And I think he's going to eventually catch him inside the pocket. I think he's going to catch him and finish him off with some ground and pound. When he does hurt you, he is very vicious. And on top of that, the only other thing I don't like about Nurgozhay in this spot is that, again, contender series guy, and I want to be certain before I say it, because I did go back and watch a couple of his fights. If you see his contender series fight, he's always pawing at his eye. Not a fan of that. It reminds me of another guy from Kazakhstan. I believe he's Kazakhstan. And Demir. I can't remember his name. Demir Winky. He'd always wink all the time and shit. It'd piss me off. So that's a big liability. But generally, he seems to land punches pretty cleanly. But yeah, give me an Nurgozhay second round TKO. I, again, don't think that Ribeiro's UFC caliber. And yeah, we'll probably see him in the regional here soon. Next bout we've got at strawweight, Sam Hughes versus Stephanie Luciano, plus 210 on Sam Page. Rondinha is, damn, that's crazy. We've got Stephanie Luciano's Rondinha, which is like a play on Ronda Rousey versus a play on fucking Rampage Jackson here. So we've got finally Ronda Rousey fighting a man. Well, actually, I don't know if you guys heard that interview of Ronda saying that she beat up her ex-boyfriend, and we were supposed to treat it like she fucking did something special, like talking about like, yeah, I beat his ass, and then he was asking me to like let him go, and I said no, and I started beating his ass more. I'm like, what the fuck, Ronda? You're a piece of shit. You're a professionally trained athlete, and you're beating up your boyfriend. I think that's fucked. But primarily the fact that she's like, aren't I cool? I'm like, what a fucking cunt. But yeah, Stephanie Luciano minus 260. I like what I've seen from this girl. The biggest issue that I had with her contender series bout with Alan Carr was just a poor fight IQ. I think she was just too young. She's only 25. She has all the skills. She's got good kickboxing. She's evolving her jiu-jitsu. She trains currently with big booty-powered Norma Dumont. And I think she's got sky's the limit for this girl. I think she's marketable. I think she's got the skill set. And she's got the nice diversity of strikes that I like to see from a girl. Sam Hughes, she's, man, in simpler terms, she's your practice girl. You know, she's sturdy, she's a good hand, but you're not gonna, marry this girl. And by that I mean she's just very basic. She's just plain. She has good attributes, like she's got the good cardio, she's got decent enough boxing, good pressure, and generally, if you're not ready for a girl like Sam Hughes, she can fraud check you, and she's done that on a couple of occasions. But I don't think Luciano's a fraud. I think her cardio is very good. I think she's smart enough, and I don't think she'll gas out and give Hughes a chance to beat her. I think her takedown defense has improved from the second Alan Carr fight. The only issue that I had in that fight is that she kept her hands down, but more than likely she did so because of the height differential and also to stuff takedowns. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued what the progress of this girl is going to be, because we got 32-year-old Sam Hughes finished product, which is, again, she's a good hand. She can go out there and maybe win you some money against a fraud, but I don't think it's fraud check time for Luciano. I don't think so at all. I think she is going to perform here, and she can, I don't want to say she can get him finished because Sam is very tough, but I do expect her to land the better shots, be cleaner on the feet, in the clinch, land good knees, and just cruise her way to a decision here. As long as she doesn't completely gas herself out, I don't foresee that happening. Give me Luciano by decision. Next bout, we've got at heavyweight, Waldo Acosta-Cortez, or Cortes-Acosta versus Ryan Spann. We got Salsa Boy versus Super Bland, Ryan Spann. And, to be fair, Super Bland Ryan Spann at light heavyweight, it was a bit of a shit show for him, where, very simply put, Spann is ridiculously talented, but he doesn't live up to that potential. Are we finally going to see Superman at heavyweight? Because this guy's enormous. He's 5 foot or 6'5", He's got an inch in reach, an inch in height over Acosta Cortez. He's got 79 inches in reach. He's the more physically imposing guy. I would assume the stronger of the two. Better jiu-jitsu. Probably has more knockouts, I would assume, than Acosta. Like Acosta's, he's a boxer, he's a striker, but he's not really known to have that kind of urgency. I know he has the power; he can connect and hurt you. Like we saw that against what was his last dude's name, Bresky, but that was his first UFC knockout. And when you look at the people that he has fought, it just kind of puts it in perspective to me that this guy, he's not who we think he is, man. Like I was getting shit on for picking him over Despain. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna beat Despain. I think he's gonna mix in some wrestling. And people are like, you're fucking stupid. He's gonna knock out. He's gonna get knocked out. I'm like, okay, whatever. That's how low people's opinion is of Acosta. And now we know how bad Despain is. And now this dude's minus 175 over Ryan Spann, who's plus 140, for the mere reason that Ryan Spann's chin is garbage. It's just, this is a guy that used to fight at middleweight, moved up to light heavyweight, and it was not enough. It's what I'm guessing here. I like Spann in this spot because of the fact that he's going to have more than likely another 20 to 30 pounds of water in him. He's not going to be dehydrated. He's going to be probably more comfortable. And I'm hoping that his chin is solid enough in this spot. And on top of that, you know, if he's feeling good, I think his cardio is going to look better. I think he's going to be able to mix in takedowns. And Acosta doesn't really hit all that hard. And he's not necessarily like actively looking for a knockout. This guy's content just landing on you and dancing. And like you look at these guys, Jared Vanderaa exposed him for not checking leg kicks. And I arguably, man, I could have given that fight to Vanderaa. Chase Sherman, well, he mentally breaks in the second round. And then we saw against Lima, another guy who live, I max bet the shit out of him. I'm like, this guy's going to run through Acosta, which he did, blasted the legs, took him down. Now, granted, Acosta does have good get-ups and some decent takedown defense. This guy fought, what's his name? The guy who just got knocked out by Gadziev. The guy who looks like fucking Stingray from Cobra Kai. Thomas Peterson. He did fight Thomas Peterson. His takedown defense looked good there, and he actually knocked him out. But man, you knock out Bresky, who is low-level heavyweight, cannot knock out Andre Arlovski in a fight that arguably he could have lost. It was not visually a very close or a very concrete fight for him. It could have gone either way. And then Despain, Despain's a fraud. Give me Spann, as long as he doesn't get knocked out, he's just better everywhere. He can catch him in a guillotine. He can fucking decision him, take his back. I'm curious to see what Spann can do with literally a fucking crash test dummy here. Because yes, he can get knocked out, but if he does not, if he can take these punches, then what? So yeah, give me Ryan Spann. He can, again, do it by any possible feasible way you want. And Acosta, he's looking kind of fat. Like he's fast. He's a fun fighter, but I don't know, man. Just give me Ryan Spann. Ryan, don't get knocked out, and then we'll move forward. Next bout here, we've got at bantamweight, Su Young Yu versus AJ Cunningham, minus 700. Let's see. I'm very curious if that is accurate. It's been going down. There's some money coming in on Cunningham, so it's like minus 625, minus 600. So there's some slight love on Cunningham. I think that more attributes to the line being so wide. But to put it simply with him, because I'll talk more about Cunningham, the guy is legit. There's a reason he's minus 700, okay? He's got very good wrestling, very good jiu-jitsu. They call him Jiu-Jitsu for a reason. You go see his road to UFC bouts. This guy's fucking doing cartwheels into back takes. The guy is solid as fuck, okay? And what attributes to the line being so wide is the strength of schedule for AJ Cunningham. Ignore the Ludovic Klein fight. That should have never been booked. But that was at a higher weight class, and it got him into the UFC. But yeah, solid guy. He does not rely on just getting takedowns and just trying to submit you. This guy can do it all. I really like this guy's style. Is he going to be, top 20 dude? I don't particularly see that. Once a guy that has good takedown defense and kind of crashes with them and starts like banging with them, because he does have good footwork and he does kind of tend to look tired, they're going to catch him. And can Cunningham do that? I think he's got that type of mentality. This guy moves forward. This guy's a dog. The issue with Cunningham is, again, his strength of schedule is pretty poor based off of his wins. Let me go back and give you a more clearer picture, because he's 11-4. He fought in the Contender Series, and he does train with Bryce Mitchell. And what I find interesting about Bryce Mitchell and him training together is that I do wonder if Bryce Mitchell only has AJ Cunningham like as a training partner, not because they're both from Arkansas, but maybe like Bryce Mitchell really wants to get in contact with AJ's dad. Like, hey, is your dad still around? Can I talk to him? I like his ideas. If you don't know the backstory about AJ Cunningham, go look it up. I will not explain it to you. Thus, I will not explain the joke as to why Bryce Mitchell might want to be friends with AJ Cunningham's dad. But yeah, he's 11-4, and I did as much tape watch as I could feasibly manage. But my general understanding of this kid is that yes, he's very hittable. He moves forward. He's tough as hell. This guy is, his heart cannot be questioned, I'll say. In his fight with Stephen Wynn, like he gets dropped badly by Wynn, and then the second round still comes out there. He doesn't get instant knocked out, but he is still on his feet and he keeps moving forward. He gets TKO'd. We saw essentially the same thing with Ludovic Klein. And then Ludovic is like, fuck it, I'll just blast him to the body if I can't knock him out. And that did him in. AJ, a couple things about him. Not only is he hittable, he displays damage way too much. He gets really red. Like you hit him, he just turns incredibly red. If you've ever played like a Konami arcade beat 'em up from the back in the day, like for example, fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, when you're fighting the boss characters, they start turning red, indicating that you're about to beat them. That's pretty much AJ Cunningham. You can do damage on him, and visually, if you just wants to come out here and like test out his striking and just kind of avoid what AJ has coming, he can do that. All he has to do is mark him up, and then you'll start hearing the fucking battle music. He starts beating his ass, and he'll turn red, and the judges will give it to you. But if AJ does come out here and try to actually fight and compete with him, I think you can get him to the ground. I think you can control him, take his back. It just shows how much of a dog does AJ have in him, and I'm not quite sure at these odds. He's plus 500, and to me, Yu is just the better overall skillful fighter. And when I'm talking about his entire strength of schedule, the fight before he got into the UFC and fought Klein was at like this fucking, I don't know, it kind of looked like a airplane silo, and he fought a dude. His name is Justice Lamperez, and this guy's 8-10, and he looked like he had no business in the cage that day. He was out of shape. He was short. He just was like, what are you doing, AJ? Like, who's padding your record here? And yeah, if you're getting your ass beat by Stephen Wynn like that, I just don't have that kind of confidence in you. I'm rooting for the kid. It's just, man, it's like he's unfortunately, like, I hate to bring this up, man, because with his backstory and him kind of trying to be molded into this master guy, master type of ethnicity. The fact is, like, he is kind of slow and almost not very athletic, and it just kind of sucks that he's gonna get beat by a minority here. So yeah, give me Su Young Yu to win by a decision out of respect for Cunningham. I don't think he'll get tapped out or put out, so we'll see. Next bout, we've got Damon Blackshear versus Cody Gibson. Very simply put, this is kind of like a mirror matchup, except that Damon Blackshear is just a better version of Cody Gibson. I think Cody Gibson wishes he looked like Damon Blackshear in every sense of the word, like meaning like he's kind of a bit of a cuck. Cody, he's plus 310, the Renegade, 37 years old. They're the same height. They essentially have the same type of game plan, except that, again, Damon's much better at it. Minus 400 for Damon Blackshear. I also have him on a parlay. I got him at minus 400 as well, so no change in those odds. I wonder though. Yeah, he's gone up at this point. So he's like minus 460 for Blackshear. Blackshear, what we know about him, at least from my visual perception of him, the basics that we know, he can grapple, he can wrestle, and he tends to kind of gas out. I think if you look at, say, just specific type of specific fights, you can see him gassing out. Like, for example, against Yusuf Zalal in his debut and against Mario Batista, you can say that he gassed out. But the main reason for that is that this guy, Blackshear, is wrestling offensively is great. Defensively, kind of shit. Jiu-jitsu is great. I think he kind of likes to try his hand on the bottom to see if he can get a sub, because he does have world-class jiu-jitsu. We saw that when he fought Luan, what's his fucking face? Luan Lacerda. He dominated that guy, stuffed every takedown, made him essentially quit going for the leg lock. The main thing that I noticed from him was he does have some interesting striking. Like he pegged me a bit like an Aljo with his style. Like he's just kind of awkward. And then when I seen him get a little bit more comfortable with the striking, he no longer relied heavily on that wrestling. He can strike with you. He doesn't need to take you down now. He's been working his striking at like I was gonna say Bang Tao, but it's at Tiger Muay Thai, and he's been looking good. And in his last fight, I thought that was like a great trend in the right direction. Not because he got a nasty finish over a tough opponent in Cody Gibson. So far, he's 1-0 against Cody's. It's about to be 2-0. It's the fact that this dude took his time. He let Cody do his thing for a little bit to gauge the distance and to gauge the reach. And then he started attacking. He started pressuring. He landed a nasty flying knee. And then when he unloaded those punches on Cody, they were brutal. And then on top of that, it got the guy to the ground instead of having to wrestle the Spartan wrestler to the ground. And then he dominated him there too. Cody, this dude looks like he's fighting underwater, and he throws his punches awkwardly. And I can see the argument of people saying, yeah, he's going to come out here and try to out wrestle Damon. His wrestling defense has always been kind of shit, but I don't think he's going to be able to come in here and just take down Damon Blackshear incredibly easily. The issue with Cody is that he's been dominating dudes recently with his wrestling because they are absolute munchkins. And this dude's a bully. But I've also seen this guy get beat by a smaller guy in Ray Borg in like Eagle FC. Cody may be looking like he's maybe a good dog. I don't think so at all. I think on the feet, Damon's going to be too quick, too powerful. It's going to take the grace of, it's going to take like, I don't fucking know, like Derek Chauvin is going to have to do something like in his jail cell, like sell his soul for this fucking honky to beat Damon Blackshear, you know what I mean? It ain't going to happen. Like, it's just too much. He's too much for Cody Gibson. Watch him do something like that. Watch me eat my fucking words. I doubt it, though. I think actually it's going to be Cody getting knocked out in this spot. I think he's going to get his back taken. Damon's got the superior grappling. He'll take the back, and I'm hoping that Damon tries to get a knockout here. I think it's like, hey, the choke is going to be too easy. I want to fuck everyone's prop bets. I want to knock him out. I think he felt that, like, he's going to do it for the culture, man. Like, he almost knocked out one cracker. He's going to knock out this cracker. So, yeah, give me Cody to get knocked out round number 2. Next bout, we've got Alexander Hernandez versus Kurt Holobaugh at lightweight, which is important because full dick Hernandez is a different version than the featherweight no dick Hernandez. He's minus 190 here, the great ape. Kurt the Hurt Holobaugh, I believe, is that a new nickname? I'm not sure, but I've seen it lately. It's plus 155. Interesting bout, okay? I went back and forth. I even tried to break it down in my head because there's so many variables here. Alex Hernandez, what we know about him, you fade him after round number 2. He starts to gas. You put pressure on him. Doesn't like it. Tends to crack. He's been working out of Denver for the last few years, and recently left Tiger Muay Thai with Brandon Royval, did their own thing. And I actually like that those two guys are paired up together. They look like BFFs now. I've looked on their Instagram. They seem to be doing some really suspicious type of stuff. You know what I mean? And by that, I mean they're dressing up like Siegfried and Roy. fascinating stuff, but I think they pair very well together because they both can train on the other's deficiency. Hernandez, being the good wrestler, can help Royval in that aspect, counter wrestling, getting back up. And the type of fighter that Royval is, which is a pressure fighter with jiu-jitsu, that's like Hernandez's biggest kryptonite. And him getting more comfortable with that pressure, I saw it in his last fight. It wasn't a full success against Austin Hubbard, but I liked what I saw. I liked the fact that he was switching stances well. He looked crisp and clean. He was managing his cardio a lot better, and he was landing good shots, but it was still a very close fight where some argue that Hubbard won. I don't think he did, but that third round was an absolute scare. And with a guy like Kurt Holobaugh, very simply put, he's got nasty power in his punches, and he's got great jiu-jitsu. He's gritty and he's nasty, and he'll move forward. This guy fights like he has nothing to lose all the time. And that makes a dangerous man. And he's been talking like, hey, I'm out here. I want to take that ranking from Hernandez. And I'm like, well, looking at it, he's not really ranked at lightweight, but whatever. Maybe I read that wrong. Maybe I'm an idiot. But anyways, Kurt Holobaugh, what we know about him is that like he's gritty, he's tough, he'll go forward. He can crack Hernandez. He can break Hernandez. He can kill Hernandez. He can choke him out. But his takedown defense is fucking trash. You can easily take him down. And that's just unfortunate because Hernandez here can hold him down. He's strong enough. And I like the improvements he's been making. And I think this is a good chance for him to show those improvements. The only problem is that you cannot trust him you can't put money on Hernandez. He can definitely crack. I will say this. I am going to go with Hernandez by a decision. Typically, when you give Hernandez a lower level competition, like the Mike Breedens of the world, he's going to run right through them. The Chris Gutmachers or whatever, he'll run right through them. I don't think this is one of those situations, but given the athleticism difference, he can probably do so to Kurt. Kurt's not like a pushover, no doubt. But again, you can push him over and lay on top of him for fucking 15 minutes. My guess is, I have no play here, but I am looking at it this way. Hernandez does not get finished in the first round, normally. I don't think he's ever been finished in the first round. Let me make sure. These are like stats in my brain that I view as fact, but I don't remember if they are. Let's see all of his fucking losses here. Lost to Jamal. Second round TKO. Second round knockout. He knocked out Breeden. Second round rear naked choke. Second round TKO. Yeah, the second round generally. So if you do think Kurt can break him, he's going to have to push forward, make Hernandez work. But by pushing forward, it puts him in position to get taken. You see the paradox here. It sucks. But then again, there's a chance he can take the neck, choke him out. I doubt that, though. I think with the guillotine guy that is Royval, he's going to have that defense down. So give me Hernandez to win a decision. It's going to be a sweaty-ass decision if it hits the third and he's looking tired, or at least, kind of has some damage to him. But I think he can get it done with laying on top. But if you are looking to bet Holobaugh, I would say round number 2 or 3. He's not going to get finished in round number 1. If he does, it's going to be weird because it doesn't happen. He has enough cardio. He has enough athleticism early for those 5 rounds. But yeah, give me Hernandez decision, but I'm going to look at those lines for Holobaugh round number 2. Might as well just look at them now. Huh? I got time. It's been about an hour. Hernandez. Let's see. Where are you? Holobaugh wins in round number 1, plus 700. Holobaugh wins in round number 3, plus 1,000. So there you go, man. Plus 1,000 round number 3. Holobaugh round number 2, plus 800. I'm just saying, man. I don't think he'll get finished in round number 1, and I don't think Holobaugh is going to go for a decision here. I think he will finish if he does have the chance to win. So at the very moment, decision for Hernandez, but again, sweaty balls. Next bout here, we've got Kevin Vallejos versus Seungwoo Choi. We already know. I already bet Vallejos. He's minus 450, and I have him at minus 450 as well. Let me actually double check to see if that line changed. Vallejos is like minus 600. It's going to be a sweat here. I'm taking him based off of his potential, not because of anything really else. I like what I see from this Kevin El Chino versus Sung Woo Choi Chin. Sung Woo Ching this thing plus 325. I was a big Sting guy. I saw his hype, I saw his potential, and then man, it just kind of came crashing down. Like he got hurt too many times, and his chin's just not the same. Unfortunately, at 32 years old, um, I think it would benefit him to move up to lightweight because this guy, he's got the talent. I know he's been training more with Korean Zombie now that he's retired. It's just that man, that Steve Garcia fight was his for the taking, and he got cracked bad. And because he was the cleaner striker, it's just that sometimes that barrage comes at you, and you're on the ground and you don't know what to do. But the possibilities for Sting to win, he's the longer, taller guy, keeping distance, low kicks. But I always think that his striking is very predictable. I think you can kind of catch him with speed, and Vallejos reminds me of a little Argentine Ilia Topuria with his stance. He primarily boxing, keeps his hands nice and tight, chin tucked in, goes forward, moves forward. And then when he gets you against the cage, he is going to unload nasty body shots. And then, dude, like this guy I don't want to say he hits ridiculously hard, but it's just the impact that he has on guys that he's going to do some damage to you. And, talking about that John Silva fight, he took a round away from John Silva. And most of the time with younger guys, just one loss isn't like the end of the world. You can kind of tell that loss affected him after, getting his first loss in general, and he lost it to a guy in John Silva, where he was a guy being hyped up. But I think the positives in that, not only I think is Kevin handling that well or handled it well, is that now they're kind of buddy, and seeing the success that John Silva's had kind of gives Kevin that kind of confidence of like, hey, I was a young kid against this killer, and look what he's doing to these guys in the UFC, and he didn't knock me out. Like, I hung with this guy. But you can kind of see the little insecurities in his previous fight, or his fight with Maximiliano Perez, where, thank you, Raised by Moon, hooking it up with that fucking fight video. But I had to see that shit for myself. Like, how did he look in that fight? How did he handle his first loss? And it wasn't pretty. It wasn't bad, but you can kind of tell that he just wasn't as aggressive. He just didn't feel himself. He needed that confidence boost, and just the years passing by, it definitely helped him, because that fight with Cam Teague, if you don't know Cam Teague, this guy, shit, he got pretty beat up in his fight with Vallejos. And that's not the main catalyst. It's the fact that, yes, Cam Teague is kind of a, he's not imposing. He's a ginger. He's not got abs or nothing, but the guy's tough. And if you're not ready for this guy, he will fucking hurt you. And the way he handled him, he started finding the body and started ripping him. And the way he just relentlessly went after him was like, that's what I needed to see from Vallejos. This kid is talking up a big game. He's like, you're going to see a show when I fight. And I am expecting that from him. I see the potential in this guy. I see a very young version of Ilia Topuria, just minus the Greco-Roman wrestling and the ground game. If this guy fights smart, and I think he will, I think he's going to batter the body. He's going to mix things up well. Head body, low kicks. Choi does kind of stand in a wide base. I think the low kicks are going to be there for both of them. He just has to be very safe early on. He cannot unload on Choi. I mean, if you have him hurt, go for it. But if Choi's a veteran, man. He's been in there. He's experienced a lot more than Kevin has. And shit, when Silva was like beating him up in the second round and moving forward, I didn't like the way he reacted to it. But again, that was his youth. That was a different man, and that was a version of John Silva that, like, shit, no one had experienced that shit. We didn't know. This fucker was barking his way to the cage. Give me Kevin Vallejos by knockout. I normally expected him to do it round number 1, but after watching a little bit more tape, I do think that the height is going to be a little much early on. Give me round number 2 for Vallejos. I think he will crack Choi eventually. He's going to make the reads. I am curious to see what Sung Woo Choi can do in this spot. Because, again, I was a big fan of this kid. I wanted to see the potential of this young Korean, super tall, but I think it is going to be If he doesn't win this fight, he's either cut or he has to move up to lightweight. I'd like to see him fight Anshul Chubli and see which one gets cracked first. But yeah, give me Vallejos by a second round TKO. Next bout, co-main event welterweight bout, Chidi Njokuani plus 150, bang bang versus Cachoeira, Zaleski dos Santos minus 180. Okay. I don't want to spend too much time on here. I'm going to pick Zaleski because as a fan of Chidi Njokuani, I've been following his career for a while. This guy, dynamic on the feet, nasty Muay Thai, nasty knees, elbows, black belt in jiu-jitsu. And it's a legit black belt in jiu-jitsu. Don't get it wrong. The problem is we saw his middleweight run. He's either running through guys or he stops and gets finished. If you can stand up to him, you can probably break him. And what I've seen in his welterweight run, it's not been bad, but it's also not been good. He's not showing that kind of dynamic ability on the feet. He is more or less reserving himself so he doesn't gas himself out. And it's been showing up decently. Like, it's not like he's gassing out terribly and he's getting beat. But you can't go split decision with a guy like Rhys McKee. The fact that Jared Gooden, and I think Jared Gooden, like, he's low level, man. He doesn't belong. They keep giving him chances and opportunities, but this guy was putting himself in the position specifically for Chidi to beat him, which is in the clinch. Chidi would turn around, being the bigger guy, held him there and just blasted him to the body. I did really like his improvements with the ground game. I mean, Chidi would get taken down. He would work himself up very intelligently. He wouldn't just give up. Not that he would normally. You typically have to hurt him and pressure him and force him to the ground with strikes for him to kind of curl up. I don't like the way he curls up. Zaleski, although 38 years old, he's still showing that he can go. He's still showing that his masking agent is exquisite. And on top of that, he just recently fought a guy with the similar type of stature and shit, pretty much a mirror matchup, except that I think that Randy Brown. Why am I thinking of Randy Johnson, the pitcher? Also a very tall black pitcher, but Randy Brown, I think better boxer, better cardio. He is a bit of an idiot. I think he can make mistakes, but the way he handled Zaleski, it was the right way to do it. I don't think Chidi can do so for 3 rounds. The fact that Zaleski took him down, nearly finished him in that second round, Randy Brown that is, indicates to me that he still has it. If he starts letting his kicks go, if he starts pressuring Chidi, putting any sort of damage on him, I just worry that if Chidi does not explode early, and I mean he has to start firing immediately, because Zaleski will not just strike with you. He will go for a takedown. He will try to finish you as early as possible. Chidi's a dangerous opponent, but he hasn't been showing how dangerous he is in the longest time, so I can't trust him in this spot. I'm rooting for him. I think that he is more than capable of finishing Zaleski. He has been hurt on multiple occasions. It's just that if it doesn't happen in that first round, if Zaleski, say, draws out those punches and those kicks early, is that dynamic old Chidi going to be a detriment to him in his cardio? Because you go back and you see in his welterweight bouts, he is not as explosive. He is not as actively trying to go for the knockout. He's just more measured, which is equally good, but to me, it's not good when your biggest attribute is fucking attacking and all you're doing is staying safe so you don't gas, is what I'm predicting in this spot. So give me Zaleski actually to get a TKO or a submission in that second round. Hope to God, like, as a Chidi guy, I would prefer it to be in the second round and not the second minute. Number one, I prefer him to win, but I think Zaleski takes it late round number 1, early round number 2. And then we've got the main event here, the rematch, Marvin Vettori versus Roman Dolidze. At middleweight here, we've got Vettori coming back after, I could not confirm, but a freak accident injury, minus 140. I did see his highlights of him grappling recently. He wrestled some dude in it wasn't combat grappling. It was just like a jiu-jitsu tournament type of thing. ADX. Yeah, and I was looking to see if he had any scars on his arm or anything, his knee. Could not tell you. I could not see. I could not confirm. But he's minus 140. Roman Dolidze plus 120. First time they fought, it was visually kind of close, but the strikes and the cleaner technique was on the side of Vettori, which got him that 29-28 unanimous victory. For Dolidze, he's been more active. He's got the better hair now because he's got the hair plugs from Toiki. The issues that I have with Dolidze from the first fight is that he kind of overswang. He did land on Marvin. Marvin's very durable. They both are. They're both hard to finish. And I thought, well, shit, if Roman can mix things up a little bit cleaner and maybe attack the body, he was just primarily headhunting. He was pushing Vettori back often because you can see that Vettori was like, shit, I don't want any real part of this guy. I don't want him to crack me. I don't want him to try to take me down. I don't want any part of those leg locks. But Vettori was just cleaner. He was just cleaner on the feet. He would attack more frequently, the leg kicks and whatnot, cleaner 1-2s. Roman was just more or less content with trying to land the big one. And that was a big mistake on his part. So I'm thinking, shit, if Roman can make those adjustments, we might have some money on our hands with taking Dolidze here. Possibly the over with Dolidze or Dolidze decision or just Dolidze money line. In his past two fights, I did not see any of those improvements. Against Anthony Smith, where he could have, given the circumstances of where Smith is now. At the time, I thought Smith maybe still had enough, but given those circumstances, like I wanted to see more from Roman, and I don't know, maybe I'm judging him too hard on that. Like he did throw some kicks to the body, but he was still over swinging with his overhand. I wanted to see crisper boxing, the 1-2s, maybe attack the body. It was a slight improvement, but nothing too massive. And then with Kevin, can't really blame him there. He took him down, beat him up. So I haven't seen those improvements here. Man, I don't know. I think with both these guys being so durable, Marvin's just kind of meat and potatoes. We know he can wrestle. We know he can take a punch. How he withstood all those punches from Cannonier, I still have no idea because he was getting beat up. And that type of dynamic ability, like he was getting attacked to the body, which opened up the head, and that would be wise for Roman. So I think there's a chance here that Roman can win it. It's a very, very difficult fight to predict because they are so evenly matched. I'm not certain. I really am not. But ultimately, I will go with Marvin. I think if this is similar to the first fight, and if, say, Roman isn't doing those types of techniques, again, attacking the body, kind of forcing Vettori to overwork, I think Vettori does have the better cardio. I think he does have slightly the better chin, and I think he has the better diversity to maybe mix in the takedowns and be safe against Dolidze, given the fact that, again, Roman's nasty on the ground, okay? Like, it's a big, big threat, but in later rounds, would it be easier for Marvin to maybe watch out for those leg locks, those sweeps from Roman after he's a little bit more tired? I think Marvin in this case, maybe not a wise bet. I think going with the fight ends in decision, shit, maybe even taking money on both of these guys on the over. If it's plus money, probably get you money that way. Because I don't think either guy's going to knock each other out early. I think it's going to be a very measured fight. They're both going to be more or less defensively sound, and any real punches that land aren't going to be massive. But give me Vettori by decision. I'm not confident in this fight, in him in particular. Again, hasn't fought in nearly 2 years. Roman's been more active. So I guess in that case, it's kind of like a dog or pass betting-wise. But I think Vettori is just the cleaner of the two at this point, the younger guy. I do like that he hadn't fought in those 2 years. Like maybe that injury was a blessing because he could recuperate from that ass whooping. So yeah, give me Vettori on this one by a decision. And the reason I'm so hesitant is that with judging, man, like Vettori isn't really like a big power puncher. He's kind of got some pillow fists. They call him the Italian dream for a reason because like those pillow fists. And for Roman, like sometimes, like I mentioned, you don't have to land cleanly. All you have to do is be aggressive and fucking hit shoulder all day and you can win a fight. Just like, oh, wow, like where's my little notepad? Fucking go, well, here, this is me judging, like, oh, that sounded real good. 10-9. Literally, that shit happens all the fucking time. Like, I've done it. I'm like, somebody make a loud fucking punch and I will give you the round. And then sometimes they don't do it and I have to make a guess because both guys are just staring at each other. I don't think that'll be the case here, but with, judging the way it is, if Roman can land the harder sounding shots, maybe that's enough. But skill for skill, if Tony Weeks is there, I think Marvin's going to get at least a 49-48. So give me Marvin by a decision. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments in regards to this card itself. What do you think about the odds? I think everything's juiced out of its fucking mind, so you're going to have to try to, like, prop bet stuff. Me, though, with my dumb little 3-leg parlay with Vallejos and Blackshear and Lima, like, it's whatever. It's throwaway money. I'm not going to be too concerned about it if either of those guys cucks, but I got, like, a maybe plus 105 on it, so maybe consider that. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. Johnny Tiger Bomb. I will see you next week.